Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast on ending fact checking, and being pressured by the Biden administration. I am so stoked to watch this. Like I found it earlier in my feed, and I set it aside, and I'm like, we're doing this. So I'm very excited to watch this. And of course, we're gonna relate it to the stock. So don't stress about that.
Joe Rogan experience.
I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service. And so we tried to put in place a system that would deal with it. And early on tried to basically make it so that it was really limited. We're like, all right, we're just going to have the system where there's these third-party fact checkers and they can check the worst of the worst stuff, right? So things that are very clear hoaxes, that there's it's not like we're not parsing speech about whether something is slightly true or slightly false, like Earth is flat, things like that, right? So that was sort of the original intent.
And from his perspective, right, as the CEO of but multiple social media companies, right? I can't imagine what kind of pressure that would be. I can't imagine what it would be like to say, we have to govern everything that people put on, right? We're going to give them a platform. We're going to give them an open door. We're going to give them a free space to put whatever they want out there. Not everything they want to put out there is something we want to share, right? So I hear where he's coming from. I couldn't imagine the pressure behind that. And I'm sure we'll hear about it in a little bit. I think he had some people in his pocket telling him what he needed to do. Michael Wales, good to see you. Happy Friday. Let's go get some jobs. There are apparently plenty out there. Maybe. Bell Music. No way you watched it yet. No. I'm excited. Let's do this. Mikey Mike, good to see you. Happy Friday.
We put in place the system and it just sort of veered from there. I think to some degree, it's because some of the people whose job is to do fact checking, a lot of their industry is focused on political fact checking. So they just kind of veered in that direction. And we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to judge people's opinions. It's to provide in this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff that seems the most extreme. But it just, it was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people just felt like the fact checkers were too biased. Not necessarily even so much in what they ruled, although sometimes I think people would disagree with that. A lot of the time, it was just what types of things they chose to even go and fact check in the first place. So I kind of think after having gone through that whole exercise, it I don't know, it's something out of 1984, one of these books where it's just it really is a slippery slope, and it just
and yeah, it really is a slippery slope, especially if the people you hire all have the same mentality, and if those people are funded by people with the same mentality, right? And it I think the US got so woke because and I'm gonna put it on him, put it on his shoulders, because he and people of his stature allowed it to. They let those posts that had one viewpoint get suppressed and let other posts with a much larger footprint, it seemed at the time, get boosted. Because of that, they lost the unbiasedness that could have come with the platform and chose to go down the rabbit hole of woke, which ultimately people have voted against it. Absolutely, at the end of the day, we have voted against that. Michael says, well, except fact-checking jobs at Meta, they're all gone. Louder, not larger. Louder, not larger.
Got to a point where it's just, okay, this is destroying so much trust, especially in the United States, to have this program. And I guess it was probably about a few years that I really started coming to the conclusion that we were going to need to change something about that. COVID was the other big one, where that was also very tricky because, at the beginning it was, it's like a legitimate public health crisis, in the beginning, and it's even people who are the most ardent First Amendment, defenders, the Supreme Court has this clear precedent. It's all right, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when, if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know, we didn't know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask, and like everything was shifting around. It's become very difficult to kind of follow, and this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. I don't know where he's going with this, but I will say the forced vaccination of so many people, thankfully I was not included, the forced vaccination of so many people with the consequence of not getting vaccinated, losing your livelihood, and therefore losing your job, your house, your spouse, your kids, whatever, I think was the most un-American thing that has ever happened in the history of America. And I remember trying to tell people at that time, this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't stand. We shouldn't stand for this. And people would just look at me like, you're crazy, dude. You're crazy. You can't talk like that. And he was one of those people that made sure that that happened. So I think a lot of people need to put blame right on his shoulders for that.
And I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations directly? That's got to be strange too, right? Because you're running the company.
Yeah, you're the head dude right there, right? How are you not involved in that conversation? Mikey Mike says, you mean the government would do evil things to their own people? No.
But there's clearly you're moderating at scale that's beyond the imagination. The number of human beings you're moderating is fucking insane. Like what's a Facebook? How many people use it on a daily basis? Forget about how many overall. Like how many people use it regularly?
It's 3.2 billion people use one of our services every day. It's wild.
More than a third of the planet. That's so crazy.
Yeah, and it's
almost half of Earth.
Well, on a monthly basis, it is probably half. But
so I want to say that though, there's a lot of like hypercritical people that are conspiracy theorists and think that everybody's a part of some cabal to control them. I want you to understand that whether it's YouTube or all these, whatever place that you think is doing something that's awful, it's good that you speak because this is how things get changed. And this is how people find out that people are upset about content moderation and censorship. But moderating at scale is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I couldn't imagine that, right? Because you've got people who want to do horrible things and live stream it. And we've seen that many times. And then you've got, grandmas who want to post pictures of their kids making snowmen, right? You've got both ends of the spectrum here. How do you police that? Because nobody wants to see those awful things. Nobody should be sharing those awful things. And it shouldn't even make it on the platform in the first place. But when you apply that to just half the political stance of the entire United States of America, that's where things went wrong. That's where things got off the rails. That's where Facebook messed up real hard. Meta as well. Luca Tubo 69. Glad you're here. Joining for the first time. You have a nice channel too. Very interesting as well, my friend. Glad you're here.
What we were talking the other day about the number of videos that go up every hour on YouTube, and it's bananas. It's bananas. That's like to try to get a human being that is reasonable, logical, and objective that's going to analyze every video. It's virtually impossible. It's not possible. So you got to use a bunch of tools. You're going to get a bunch of things wrong. And then you have also people reporting things. And how much is that going to affect things? You could have mass reporting because you have bad actors. You have some corporation that decides we're going to attack this video because it's bad for us to take it down. There's so much going on. Just, I want to put that in people's heads before we go on. Like, understand the kind of numbers that we're talking about here. Now understand you have the pandemic, and then you have the administration that's doing something where I think they crossed the line, where it gets really weird, where they're saying what you were saying. They were trying to get you to take down vaccine side effects, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's so complicated, this system, that I could spend every minute of all of my time doing this and not actually focused on building any of the things that we're trying to do. AI, glasses, like the future of social media, all that stuff. So, I get involved in this stuff, but in general, we have a policy team. There are people who I trust. They're the people who are kind of working on this on a day-to-day basis. And the interactions that that I was just referring to, I mean, a lot of this is documented. I mean, because Jim Jordan and the House had this whole investigation and committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this, and we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we were, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. The emails are published. It's all kind of out there.
You know how once the Biden admin's over, I think they're going to have so many tell-all books, podcasts, Netflix series that just go into what a shit show this has been the last few years. And I think it's going to start with people saying, you know what? I shouldn't say it. We're going to get this video demonetized if I say it. But Donald Trump may have won 3 times in a row if they hadn't messed with things. I'll put it that way.
And they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're gonna see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
And it's the same thing that they're doing with Elon too, right? I am a Tesla owner, right? I have a 2023 Model Y Performance, most fun car of all time. I love it so much. But before Biden came into office, Elon was all about Democrats. Once he got into office and said, you know what, I'm not agreeing with all the stuff that you are doing here, they decided to go after him. The SEC started going after him, and they're like, you know what, we're going to take you down, just like we're taking Trump down, and with lawfare. And it seems like they threatened to do the same with him, with Zuckerberg too. So just corruption beyond corruption here.
Yeah. It's just a massive overstepping.
Yeah,
and,
well, I mean,
also, you weren't killing people. This is the thing about all of this. It's like they suppressed so much information about things that people should be doing, regardless of whether or not you believe in the vaccine. Regardless, put that aside. Metabolic health is of the utmost importance in your everyday life, whether there's a pandemic or there's not. And there's a lot of things that you can do that can help you recover from illness. It prevents illnesses. It makes your body more robust and healthy. It strengthens your immune system. And they were suppressing all that information. And that's just crazy. You can't say you're one of the good guys if you're suppressing information that would help people recover from all kinds of diseases, not just COVID, the flu, common cold, all sorts of different things, high doses of vitamin C, D3 with K2 and magnesium. They were suppressing this stuff because they didn't want people to think that you could get away with not taking a vaccine, which is really crazy when you're talking about something that 99.07% of people survive. This is
exactly 99.07% of people survive. But I think the real telling point was, ask any mother, for example, talking to my wife, I was like, are you going to get the kids vaccinated? Because she was all on the vaccination train. She bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I was like, no way. They're not putting that in my body. And she said, we're not vaccinating our kids. That, in my opinion, was the real story here, right? She'll get vaccinated. You might get vaccinated to keep your job. She'll get vaccinated to, make sure that everybody feels safe. But if you're not going to vaccinate your kids, then you don't trust that it's safe and effective. Because if it were safe and effective, probably should have been vaccinating your kids too. Just saying.
This is a crazy overstep, but it scared the shit out of a lot of people. Red-pilled, as it were, a lot of people, because they realized, like, 1980.
And I think that's a big reason why Trump won. A big reason is that people were like, we're not doing this again. I just had my rights suppressed for 4 years. I couldn't say what I wanted on social media. I couldn't have the job I wanted because I didn't want to get a shot, or I had to get a shot against my will. And people were over it. Right? Not having that anymore.
84 is like an instruction manual. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
it shows you how things can go that way with wrong speak and with bizarre distortion of facts. And when it comes down to it, in today's day and age, the way people get information is through your platform, through X. This is how people are getting information. They're getting information from YouTube. They're getting information from a bunch of different sources now. And you can't censor that if it's real legitimate information because it's not ideologically convenient for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically the journey that I've been on, right? Started off very pro free speech, free expression. And then over the last 10 years, there have been these two big episodes. It was the Trump election and the aftermath, where I feel like in retrospect, I deferred too much to the kind of critique of the media on what we should do. And since then, I think generally trust in media has fallen off a cliff, right? So I don't think I'm alone in that journey. I think that's basically the experience that a lot of people have had is, okay, it's the stuff that's being written about is not kind of all accurate. And even if the facts are right, it's kind of written from a slant a lot of the time.
Of course.
And then there's the government version of it, which is during COVID, which is okay. Like it's like our government is telling us that we need to censor true things. It's like this is a disaster, and it's it's not just the U.S. right? I think a lot of people in the U.S. focus on this as an American phenomenon, but I kind of think that the reaction to COVID probably caused a breakdown in trust in a lot of governments around the world. Because 2024 was a big election year around the world, and there are all these countries, India, just like a ton of countries that had elections, and the incumbents basically lost every single one. So there is some sort of a global phenomenon where the whether it was because of inflation, because of the economic policies to deal with COVID, or just how the governments dealt with COVID, seems to have had this effect that's global, not just the U.S., but like a very broad decrease in trust, at least in that set of incumbents, and maybe in sort of these democratic institutions overall. So I think that what you're saying of, how do people get their information now? It's by sharing it online on social media. I think that that's just increasingly true. And my view at this point is like, all right, like we started off focused on free expression. We kind of had this pressure tested over the last period. I feel like I just have a much greater command now of what I think the policies should be. And like, this is how it's going to be going forward. And so I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because they kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like there's not like a great time to do this. It's
right. And you want to do it a year later.
Yeah, it's like there's no good time to do it. There's,
right.
and whatever time is going on, there's going to be, so the good thing about doing it after the election is you get to take this kind of cultural pulse as like, okay, where are people right now, and how are people thinking about it? We try to have policies that reflect mainstream discourse.
So my takeaway is back at the beginning of the Biden term, that's when COVID was going down. He was doing everything he could to save face, save his company, and not get the lawfare wing of the government sent after him. But in the process, who knows how many lives would have been better off had he gone the Elon Musk route, which is we're going to let free speech happen no matter what. Who knows? But then at some point in the last 12 months or so, I think he got red pilled, said, maybe we went too far. Maybe we went too far and we need to come back. So let's do this. Let's take a look at Meta stock. And if we look at the Meta stock, right, it's been, basically since May, it's been going up at a 45-degree angle. And then, geez, you could even go, how many years back does this go? Hang on. We got to see where it really started to take off here. It bottomed out November 3rd, 2022, and has basically been on a huge run ever since that point. A huge move. Couple things to note here is that short term, hang on, my zooming skills are off at the moment. There we go. Short term, we're caught between two order blocks. Now, an order block is a large institutional order or set of orders that are waiting to be filled, right? You can call these support and resistance. I really, really believe in order blocks. I've traded around them and I've made a ton of money with them. Order blocks will just show up on your chart like this once you have them enabled. And whenever it closes on the other side of it, they disappear. But in the meantime, I could absolutely see this ping-ponging in between. And I will say I'm a little surprised that this hasn't had more of an impact. This interview coming out hasn't had more of an impact. It may come Monday. But, the market is getting just trounced down 1.5% today. This is a very obviously bearish market. but Meta is holding up decently strong, up 1.35%. In fact, if we go to the S&P 500 map, this is just today. I mean, nearly everything up here is red except for Meta, Walmart, and Costco. So yeah, that tells you where people are looking right now. So Meta seems to be holding up better than I expected. It honestly does. Now, if we go to the outlier data here on Meta, let's take a look at it. It looks like December 18th, around the time we sent out this sell signal here, it had peaked on the greediness of it and has been moving towards more of a fearful stance. And I really like, this is my personal favorite indicator inside of Outlier here. But also, I want to take a look at the news. Oh, negative news, negative news. This is all from today. Meta axes DEI program. Meta employees slam decision. Read the memo. Meta announces end of DEI. Meta to end diversity programs. Man, it looks like the news media is doing their very best to just smear Meta today. Of this whole first page, one is neutral, two are neutral, one is positive. Everything else is negative, negative, negative. Let's look and see if any analyst ratings have changed recently. All right, January 6th, Jefferies initiated a buy target or a buy rating on this, going from 675 to 715 on their target here. It's currently at 619. 715 is astronomically high. Let's see, that would be another 15% higher from this point here on Meta. So that'll be it for that video. So let's rank it real quick. Of course, it's JRE. So in my opinion, it's always going to be legendary. Put in the chat what your opinion is of this video here. I'd like to hear. These are the ratings here: forgettable, painful, frustrating, mediocre, meh, decent, nobody gets a 7, impressive, epic, and legendary. Let me know your thought on what to rank this video here. But if it's not Joe Rogan, just Mark on himself, I would rate that as a 6. I'd rate it decent. Maybe an 8. It's hard to give this one an 8. I would give it a 7 if a 7 wasn't axed out. Michael Wales says he gives it an 8. So I always like to throw Joe Rogan on the old headphones. How about you? So we're gonna jump into today's member highlight with our weekly winner. Find the button here. Here we go. All right, so we are about to do this week's weekly winners circle. And the way that this works, it's super simple. All you have to do is go on our Discord, go to the share your big wins section here, and make a post. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a list of people, and then we're going to draw a number at random to see who the winner will be. Now, we haven't had a chance to do this, or did we do it last week? I can't remember. Let me see. I had 2 weeks off of Christmas. No, we haven't done it in a minute. So everybody is eligible who's posted since Christmas break here. Let me go back. Scrolling. I'm trying to find where. Okay. So Dave was the last winner. So we're going to say Mikey Mike is on the board here. Mikey Mike, Brian, Wes, Mikey Mike again, and Michael Wales, M Wales, Dave. Well, Dave won it last, so we're gonna axe Dave. No offense, Dave. That's the rules. Port City. That's Ryan. He's new. Port City. And Dave, Peter. Peter, is that you? Is that you right there, my friend? Peter from the Netherlands? I don't know if that's a different Peter. Dave, Michael Wales, and Ryan again. Okay, that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people to choose from. So we're going to go to random.org. And what we're going to do, come on, I'm a human, I promise. Boom, verification successful. You are human. So between 1 and 6, when I click the generate number here, that'll tell us who the winner will be of a $10 Amazon gift card. So we're going to click it in 3, in 2, in 1. Number 4, that is Michael Wales. How you doing, my friend? Glad you made it. Congratulations. All right. I love doing this every Friday. It's a ton of fun. So for winning this week's weekly winners circle. So April will send that to you on Monday. Congratulations, Michael. And he gets a chicken dinner out of it. Dude, are you going to buy a chicken dinner on Amazon? I don't know how good that's going to taste by the time it gets there. So that's today's member highlight. Be sure to share your stories in the Discord, right? We'd love to hear from you. And of course, the first rule of Outliers, you tell everybody about Outlier. And hit the like button if you haven't already. So back to trading in the Outlier trading room. Real quick, what is Outlier? How does it work? Well, Warren Buffett once said to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. An outlier shows you when investors are acting rationally fearful or greedy and by how much, allowing you to get into the stock before the outlier move happens. And you can get into Outlier for a whole year for just 82 cents a day, but this deal ends on January 31st. So my style of trading, I call the golden ticket trading strategy, and it always starts with the market. We want to see, you know what? I don't care if it's bullish or bearish. We're going to let the market tell us which way it's going. 10, under the 20, price under the 50. We got that with spades today, right? Down 1.5%. We have the 10 period EMA, which is the blue line, under the 20 period EMA, which is the black line. Price is under the 50 period EMA, which is the red line. So you've got 10, 20, 50 all stacked going south. Now, because of this, I would absolutely, hands down, without a doubt, say that this is a bearish trend. I don't know how far this trend is going to go, and I'm not calling for a crash. Let's get that clear. I'm saying the trend currently is moving down, okay? So with that out of the way, let's go next look at the market breadth. Now, market breadth is actually interesting because market breadth has actually turned the opposite direction, is going north. We're getting more buy signals than sell signals right now. So because of that discrepancy there, right, I want to see the market trend and the market breadth moving in the same direction. I don't see that yet, right? So what this tells me is that we may see a sideways market right now. We might see, in fact, we've had a sideways market here for a hot minute. If you really want to look at it, we've not gone anywhere since October, since Halloween, basically. We've basically gone sideways. We've round tripped that. Now, I don't know when that's going to resolve itself, but until I can see the market breadth moving in the same direction as the market trend, not really interested. And the S&P 500 inside of Outlier got a sell signal on November 21st, this period right here. So that signal is already up about 2.2% if you had taken that going short. So let's review this real quick. I would not put any money at risk in this market because I have a sell signal on the SPY. The market trend is bearish. The market breadth is bullish, ironically. But the sector breadth, I'm not even going to take a look at. What I do want to look at, one last thing, though, is the number of stocks on the bull and bear list real quick. Mikey Mike says, thanks, Outlier. I was already winning with the buy signals. That is awesome, dude. Brian, is he getting the bird flu discount? You got the bird flu? Bro. Mark says, hey, this is Mark, the smartest guy I know. I have to wonder if a smear campaign from the mainstream media actually does reputation to repair for Zuckerberg. It might, dude. It might, because it's the one stock that seems to be up today. So we've got 869 names on the bull list. So the bull list is growing. 58 new stocks on this list today with buy signals. 4 stocks on the bear list with sell signals. However, if you want to see, the momentum is skewing back towards the bull list, back towards more buy signals, but we still have more sell signals than buy signals at the moment. So for me, I don't see any trades to make today, and that's okay, right? You don't have to trade every day. I'll put it that way. But there's always new opportunities that come through with Outliers. So tell me in the chat what you're trading. I'd really love to hear, and come back tomorrow where we'll help you save time, make money, and start winning with less risk together as a team. And of course, let us know if you need anything over in the Discord. And thanks so much for coming to today's Outlier Trading Room. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday. Talk soon.